Okay, good morning everyone. Thank you very much for coming to today's session, and thank you, John, for the excellent introduction. There's a lot of overlap in my experience, which I'll also talk about, so thank you very much for the introduction. So today I'll take some time and go over some slides to talk about the topic of social innovation education in Silicon Valley. I come from this organization called VIA, which I'll also go into a little bit of detail in the next slides. But basically, as you know, Silicon Valley has been kind of the engine of innovation, especially in the computer science areas. Companies such as Google and others that you know are very familiar with are coming from here. And us as an educational nonprofit organization, we're trying to look at that place as a very rich area for education. And we do bring a lot of students from Asia and build curriculums around that. So that's kind of what we're trying to get at. In order to do that, first I wanted to start out by introducing this person. His name is Herman. He joined one of our programs, a social innovation program from Hong Kong. And he was impacted by a lot of things that he was exposed to, the companies or the social enterprises he visited, the workshops he attended, and also meeting peers from Asia who are interested in kind of a similar social issue with him. After the program, he commented, for young people like me who have dreams to contribute to the greater good, but still hesitate to take the first step in pursuing these dreams, VIA's program in Silicon Valley makes it happen by enriching us with fruitful knowledge, inspiring mentors, and supportive companions. And what he did actually, he really wanted to kind of do something to build empathy towards the elderly. Hong Kong is also facing kind of an old aging society too. So he was thinking, what are ways to maybe do a social enterprise to have people understand what the elderly are going through. So he actually started this group called Eldpathy, and basically it's a program that people can join, and they'll sometimes wear like heavy suits and try to walk and experience how it is to kind of maybe walk around as you age, or wear glasses that are blurry so you can't see. And he was very successful, and what he did after he came back, he joined the Hong Kong Social Enterprise competition and won the following year, and now he has kind of launched this. And it's very inspiring for us too to hear that like journeys like these started from kind of being outside of their home, going to Silicon Valley, and being inspired as well. So I just wanted to start with this student's kind of example, and then kind of start to go into some of the details. So who are we? So as I said, VIA. It is an independent non-profit organization that started in 1963 at Stanford University, so quite a while ago, 54 years ago now. It started with a group of freshman men or freshman students at Stanford who were talking about their future. What kind of human being do I want to be? How do I want to be engaged with the world? This group of about 20 people said, oh, I want to know more about Asia. And this is a very different time again. Asia was different, America was different, people not traveling, no internet of course. But they decided to try and go on this adventure and explore the other part of the world in Asia, and also kind of learn from each other through like cross-cultural communication and public service. So what happened actually is this group of 20 students came to Hong Kong as their first adventure, and this is where it all started. And they came as volunteers. Over the 54 years, we still continue to send Americans to volunteer as fellows in different parts of Asia. So the name VIA originally it's coming from volunteers in Asia. As it says here, send American fellows to volunteer in Asia. Right now, most of our fellow posts are in Southeast Asia, for example, Myanmar, Vietnam, Indonesia, Cambodia, Thailand, and some in mainland China as well. And they either may be teaching English at places where they cannot hire or find English-speaking teachers, or also working with local non-profit organizations to support with their English kind of translations or grant applications. So that's one of the core activities we have been doing. But also also, another thing we have been doing for the last 40 years, since 1977, is design educational programs for Asian university students in Silicon Valley, and this is also the Stanford campus, which is also in Silicon Valley. This, again, I won't go into too much detail, but right now there are 4 areas we focus on. One is called the American Language and Culture. This is for academic English training, where students can take courses through the Stanford English for Foreign Students program, and they'll get credits from Stanford after completion of this 4-week summer program. Another area we have is for medical students, and we have programs focusing on cross-cultural healthcare in the spring and the summertime. Another area is around global leadership. In this day, I think it's very important to have not only leadership, but also a leadership style and practice that can function in a global context. And the last area we have are programs focusing on social innovation, which I'll go into a little bit detail in my presentation today. But as I said, the organization started by connecting America and US, or America and Asia. But when we bring students from Asia to the US, we also intentionally try to mix the Asians as much as possible. So when we have students from Hong Kong, we also invite people from Taiwan, mainland China, Japan, and other parts of Asia. And that's also a very rich kind of a learning environment for the students. That's a little bit about our organization. A little bit about myself, kind of following kind of what Jonathan was doing too with kind of his journey. I thought I'll quickly tell you why this Japanese person is now working for an American nonprofit organization. So my name Kazutoh. In Chinese characters, that's how it's written. Iton, I think, is how it's pronounced. And I was born in Japan, but when I was small, about 3 years old, I had a chance to, my family moved to the UK. So I spent about 6 years of my childhood in the UK, and that was my first cross-cultural experience. And then coming back to Japan after that, kind of a reverse culture shock of kind of 9 years old, a very different culture from the UK. But then that started me kind of thinking of wanting to see the world even more. And not just studying in the classroom, but really going outside, the added experience. So I had a chance to go to the United States for the first time when I was in high school. There was an exchange program through the Rotary Club. So I went for a 1-year exchange, went to a local high school, which was also very refreshing kind of an experience. Again, Japan, probably similar to maybe China and Hong Kong, but a lot of studying is again in lecture style, memorization and tests. But when I went to the US, there were certainly those types of classes, but also there were computer classes and language, like foreign language classes were very active and interactive, and it felt very exciting, and I felt like I'm learning something very practical and interesting. So that was very a rich experience for me. But I went back to Japan and went on to college, but still wanted to have another experience in the US in an academic setting. So when I was in college in Japan, I actually had a chance to join a VIA program. So although I have been working as a staff member, my initial connection was as a participant on the program 26 years ago when I was in college. And that was certainly another eye-opening experience. Certainly, again, I learned a lot about America, but as I said, on the program there were other Asian students. And that was so eye-opening. Unfortunately, until this time, I was not very interested in Asia, even though I'm from Japan. But meeting other Asian students just opened my eyes, like there's so much out here close to Japan, and of course a lot of historical context that's important to know, and also the relationship now and the future. So what happened is when I returned to Japan, to college, I shifted my focus from US-Japan relation to Japan-East Asia relations, and kind of started to look at the history and how the relationships are now. So that was one profound experience I had. And then after that, I also did a quick trip to Southeast Asia and other parts of Asia to explore that part of the world. And just fast forwarding a little bit, I also had a chance to go to Hawaii for my graduate studies, my master's and doctoral studies, and that's when I met my wife. So I feel like these experiences also come with the added benefits as well. So that's when I met my wife, and then she's from Japan, but also was studying at the same university, and then returned to Japan, or not really returned, but from there I made the decision to come back to VIA because I was really feeling the importance of my program experience and felt that I really want to be the provider of similar experiences to the younger generations. So that's kind of where I've landed since 2005. So for the last 12 years, I've been really extremely enjoyed kind of the work that I've been able to do. So that's a little bit about myself. Moving forward. So a little quiz for you. So probably you're familiar with these logos. So what do these companies have in common?
Technology. Technology.
Technology, yes. Technology is definitely a common theme across these. Any other commonality?
Big companies?
Big companies, yes. Big international famous companies. Anything else?
Are they all in Silicon Valley?
Good,
Just
good.
guessing.
No, they're very good. They're all in Silicon Valley. The headquarters are in Silicon Valley or started in Silicon Valley. Anything else? They're all good answers. The one more thing that they have in common is Stanford University. These companies, actually many more, but I'm just showing 3 representative examples, were started by Stanford graduate students, mostly computer science students. HP, a long time ago, in the 1930s or 40s, Hewlett and Packard started this company, Yahoo and Google as well. But what this represents is, well, Silicon Valley, one, is again the home of a lot of new kind of exciting companies that we know about, but also Stanford University playing a critical role in kind of having these kind of talented people start these businesses. And many people ask, why is Silicon Valley being so successful with a lot of entrepreneurship and innovation? Answer is not easy. I think there's a lot of kind of factors that kind of make that an exciting and successful environment. But I'm just going to focus on 3 today and kind of tie that to, again, in education. One is people. It does draw a lot of, again, talented people to this area, and I'll give examples in a minute. Intellectual capital. Again, there's a kind of an environment where there's a lot of learning that can happen in this environment. And another important factor, venture capital, money, is also kind of concentrated in this area, which enables people to start new businesses. So let's look at each one a little bit. So people, as I said, these 3 companies, Hewlett and Packard, also Jerry Yang, David Filo, Sergey Brin, Larry Page. And again, I can keep adding to this profile, not just from Stanford, but founders of other companies such as Twitter, Uber, Airbnb, Instagram, Snapchat. A lot of those are coming from companies that are started in this area. The thing that's common probably across these are, again, talented, meaning have a lot of knowledge about the field, but also in the engineering, the computer science areas, having a vision, being passionate, innovative, and also diverse. And a lot of people are also kind of immigrant families from like Russia, Taiwanese Americans, Jerry Yang, and so many, a lot of Indian talented technology hires also in Silicon Valley. So that's kind of, it has a way to draw a lot of people, not just from the US, but from around the world. And many people like to ask, what's happening in the US now with Donald Trump being the president? We're not well, a lot is happening, we're not sure yet, but for example, you know his kind of immigration policy is trying to limit who can come into the United States. If that really continues to happen, I think it will probably start to affect kind of the innovation that can happen, because again, we've seen a lot of experiences where, again, talents from across the world come to this area and develop new things. So we'll see how that plays out, but again, for now, this has been one of the success elements. Intellectual capital. In this area, there's a lot of universities that contribute to this. Stanford, Berkeley, certainly one of them as well. There's also Santa Clara University, San Jose State University, University of California, San Francisco in the medical area. Today I'll just focus on Stanford since that's where I'm more familiar with, to see what are the opportunities for people to learn kind of about innovation, entrepreneurship, technology, and world trends. There are a lot of interesting courses at Stanford, but in these areas, in the mechanical engineering and material science and engineering as well, there's a lot focusing on creativity or innovation, design, and I won't go over each one of these, but the list will go on and on. Probably there's about 50 or so that are related to innovation right now, but these are kind of one ways that students can kind of get this exposure to new ways of thinking and new ways of developing ideas. So that's certainly one opportunity. There's also a lot of exciting centers and programs on the Stanford campus. For example, at the business school, there's the Center for Social Innovation. Another one that does research on philanthropy called the Center on Philanthropy and Civil Society plays a key role at Stanford. I believe a couple of days ago, Tim Stanton came and gave a talk here. So he was also affiliated with the Haas Center for Public Service, which provides a lot of service and service learning opportunities for Stanford students, and Stanford Technology Venture programs. And the Stanford D School, this has become very famous in terms of introducing the concept of design thinking to the world. And I believe Fiona will talk about that a little bit later as well. Oh, and later, if you want these slides, you can email me and I can send you the slides too, if you're interested in kind of looking these places up. But again, there are a lot of these places for students to get information and resources from. Also, there are student groups and programs. For example, there's one called ACES, the Asia Pacific Student Entrepreneurial Society, BASIS. I want to talk a little bit about these two, which are run by the Haas Center for Public Service. This one called Alternative Spring Break Program. As a Japanese, I thought this is a very interesting and unique program, which I haven't seen in Japan or other parts of Asia. So Stanford University has a spring vacation, usually just 1 week, so pretty short. It's actually right now happening. This 1 week is their spring break. Of course, students can just relax, have fun, travel, and all that. But if they become part of this alternative spring break program, they can use this week to do kind of the added experience piece and go out to the field and learn about a certain topic. How this works is students can propose a topic. For example, it could be social entrepreneurship. It could be about LGBT issues. It could be about immigration issues. And then during the winter quarter system, so January through March, they will meet once a week with the student leaders and learn about the topic. And once they finish that quarter, then at the end of March, they will use this spring break time to go out to, for example, San Francisco or different parts of the United States, usually I think inside the US, to learn about that topic. So it's a very interesting way how that's done, and usually there's a service element included in these programs. And also kind of to connect to what you were saying about kind of science and how that could be also brought out to the classroom, made relevant to like college students too, I wanted to briefly introduce the program called Science in Service, which also the Haas Center facilitates for Stanford students. What they basically do is give Stanford students an opportunity to go out to local communities, for example, like an after-school program or kids center, and teach science in, again, an exciting way. Let's go out and see what's happening and collect information and look at it and analyze. But this helps kind of develop leadership and commitment to public service among college service students. So for the Stanford students, the benefit is they can develop these kind of skills. But also, through this, they can provide positive science learning experiences to community youth that will help to build a more scientifically engaged citizenry. So again, maybe a lot of people don't have a chance to learn about science, or they think it's boring because they only read it in textbooks. So this is, again, giving a positive sort of science learning experience to the youth. And also promote educational equity in science for students of color and students of differing socio-economic status. One of the areas that they focus is called East Palo Alto, which is, compared to the Stanford area, it's a little bit more of a low-income kind of a area. So a lot of the students in that area don't have access to a lot of educational activities and opportunities. So that's where the Stanford students will go, usually once a week, to that community and kind of engage students in science learning. So that's another example of how Stanford students can be involved in kind of a creative way of bringing innovation and science into their career. Also, one of the things I briefly mentioned, but also has been a key for our program, is the concept of design thinking. So how many have heard the word or know design thinking? Yes. Okay, a few people think. So again, I won't go into too much detail, but they have this process that comes from product design. So you can make anything, a toothbrush, a shopping cart, a helmet, but you can either design something by just sitting on the computer and doing your computer graphics and making it look like a cool design. Or if you go through this process, this is also called a human-centered design. And you really focus on the person that's going to be using your product and making something that really works for them. And very quickly, you go and try to understand the people you're trying to help through doing some empathize building activities. And then you learn about the people that you want to help, and you understand the complexity of their daily kind of maybe lives or activities. So you need to define the problem of what are you trying to really help them with. And this is the part that a lot of our students get excited, ideate. And this is a time when it's like brainstorming and you do a lot of kind of crazy ideas at this point. This is the part where you really want to become like a child and throw out a lot of the crazy ideas out there. And we try to create this environment where it feels okay to say anything crazy. And that's kind of where the innovation comes from. And based on a lot of ideas you kind of generate, you build prototypes. And this is kind of using the sticks and stickers and things like that. And make the kind of the very draft version of your product. And then you will use that to kind of bring to the people you want to help, test it, get their feedback, and keep iterating. So very, in a nutshell, that's what it is. Again, very exciting process. And again, if you're interested, I can go into a little bit more depth later. And this, I think, when we do our programs, we take students to the Stanford D School, the design school, and see kind of the environment where the Stanford students learn this skill going through these steps. And then talking a little bit about the third element, venture capital. So there's, as I said, there's a lot of money out there. And these venture capitalists have a lot of money. What they're trying to do is they invest in startups so people with new ideas can go to them and do their pitch. Usually a very short, like a 10-minute quick presentation of why they think they have the best item, and also have a business model that they can grow. And then the investor is aiming to kind of have like a 10 times return. So that's kind of what they are, how they make their money. And they will cash out in IPOs or acquisitions where if some of them are successful. And of course they know that not everybody's going to be successful. So you invest in 10 people, if you have one successful startup, then that's really going to start to grow your capital, and then you can invest in a different startup. What they do is, once they decide to support you with their money, they also provide mentorship as well. So they'll give you guidance of how to kind of improve your design or product so that you can become a successful business. So that's one of the benefits of getting a venture capital support you, is not just the money, but mentorship is also provided. And again, because a lot of the new things are happening here, it does attract a lot of venture capitalists. So there's a place called Sand Hill Road. This is right outside the Stanford campus, actually, where a lot of these offices are located. Just a couple of names that I'm familiar with: Global Catalyst Partners, FedEx Venture, but again, there's a lot more that are So these are the elements. You have talented people and you have the intellectual capital where people learn about new ideas and how to be creative. And then you have the money to start something. What I'm interested in, what VIA is interested in, is the social aspect of Silicon Valley. As an educator, of course, it's exciting to have successful technology companies, but where's the contribution to society? So one way some of these companies are contributing to society is through corporate social responsibilities. One example may be their employees can go out and volunteer. They can spend one day out of, for example, 1 month. They can just go and volunteer for a nonprofit that they care about. Or they might go and actually use their expertise and assist NPOs. It's pro bono work. It might be in legal activities. It might be with computer support. That's another way that they try to bring some of their resources to the society. Also, a lot of these companies have foundations. The Hewlett Foundation, the Packard Foundation, Google Foundation, Intel Foundation. Basically, these places will provide money. A lot of them will go to nonprofit organizations. If they have a program that matches what they're interested in, they'll give some funding so that they could continue or start something new. Another thing that these foundations do is, let's say I work for Google and I'm going to donate $100 to VIA. Then these foundations say, okay, that's good. If you're going to give $100, I will match it for you. So they will also send another $100, so it doubles the amount. And that's another way. Matching is very commonly done in the United States, but that's where some of these foundations come in and support that. And also, there are a lot of social enterprises and innovative NPOs. It's not only these big high-tech companies that are in Silicon Valley. There's so many smaller groups and NPOs that are out there doing interesting work. These are, again, few that we work with. I'll just briefly mention this one, which I'm always excited about, called Delancey Street Foundation. This is a social enterprise that's been around for about 40 years now. What they're focused on is to help people who come out of prison and return to the society. A lot of people, and in their case, come out from prison, maybe they committed murder, maybe they had drug issues and things like that. And with their background, it's really hard to come back to the society, reintegrate, maybe because they don't have the working skills, they don't have the social skills to interact with people politely, and so on. So what they have is they have a whole community, actually an apartment, training centers, a restaurant, and they go through that and support each other who come out of fresh from prison and go through this 2-year training, and they can kind of graduate and start their own life anew. And what's amazing about this place is that it's very sustainable. They've been doing it for 40 years, but the people running the whole operation are also their graduates, meaning they were also inmates in prison before, but they've all really kind of established their own kind of operation that they can now run it themselves without other funding. Like, they don't take government support anything. They're very independent. So that's another kind of exciting, innovative organization out of Silicon Valley that's very social focused. So that's kind of what we do. And then when VIA talks about social innovation, there's many ways to define social innovation, but we understand it to be the pursuit of more sustainable solutions to social problems and creation of value to benefit broader society. So it would be, of course, very nice if you have a great idea and you can help one person, but I think what social innovation is trying to do is have a system in place that is sustainable, so you can continue to do it and serve more people and to benefit the broader society, not just focus on one person or a small community. So rapid innovations in technology have created many new opportunities for how we do business, as with some of the examples we've seen, but also in the ways we improve society. So that's kind of what the exciting part of Silicon Valley is. It's not just the money-making business, but there's a lot that is used to improve society. And that's kind of what we really want to focus on when we bring the students out to Silicon Valley. So what is our role as an educational nonprofit? What are we trying to do? It is kind of being the bridge of the academic. Certainly, if you're a college student, you're going to learn about different issues and what's out there in the world, but also in the real world, there are a lot of practitioners doing a lot of activities. And what we do is, through experiential learning designs, we create a program where we try to bridge these two so that they're still learning, but also through experience. Is kind of what we do. So just to give you a little bit more concrete example, so we do a couple of programs each year. One is called the Exploring Social Innovation. We do one in the spring and two in the summer, so 3 times a year. And also we have one that really focuses on design thinking. This one only happens once a year. Actually, that's taking place right now in Silicon Valley. It's a 10-day program. But both programs, what we do is, again, really expose the students to kind of these innovations that's happening. So they will visit places like Google or YouTube out there. They will also visit the social enterprise that I just described, the Land C Street Foundation. We also do a lot of workshops with them. We do a boot camp design thinking workshop for all of them, so that they kind of not just hear about that process that I showed, but they go through it. They understand through that experience. Another exciting activity we do is what we call the failure activity. I'm not sure if you did the failure activity too, but one of the things that also is common among the successful entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley or in general are they are risk takers. If you don't take risks, you're not going to really do something new. But usually what happens when you take a risk, you're going to fail probably a few times. Again, more in the Asian context, I think we're educated to try to minimize risks as much as possible. Be careful and do something once you know you're sure and you're going to succeed. Whereas in this context, this kind of tolerance around failure. So if you fail, it's okay. So going back to the venture capitalist, if you have a great idea and you do your presentation pitch, but maybe you failed 3 times before, you can proudly talk about that and say what you've learned from that experience, and the venture capitalists like that because they know that then now you have gone through some stages and you've learned from them, and there's a better chance of succeeding. So when our students come, usually they're, again, afraid of making failure. So we kind of do this task and say, usually in pairs because they might still be not used to the new environment, but they say go around the San Francisco city or go around the Stanford campus, and in 15 minutes fail 5 times. And they go like, what should I do? Like, what do you mean fail 5 times? But they kind of talk to each other, and anything is okay in this case. So for example, if somebody's eating a sandwich and you just ask, can I have a bite of your sandwich? And if they say no, then you fail. So that's succeeding at failing is what happens. What's interesting is Silicon Valley, if you do that, a lot of people are still nice, so they'll give you your sandwich and you will try something else. So that does happen. But that way, again, the first few times I think you're nervous and all that, but 4th, 5th time, you start to feel like, oh, it's no big deal. Like it's okay to fail. And try to kind of build this mentality, not just tell them it's okay to fail, but really have them go through this experience and learn from that. So that's another example. Again, we have a lot of exciting activities like that so that they learn from experience. Again, well, if you're interested later, I can give you copies of our brochures which have like the content and what we do. But the program goals, as listed here, is really exploring the social innovation fields and ways to become a social innovator. So that's kind of one of the key things. But what's important here is not just the skills, but it's really the mindset. Again, knowing that I should be taking risks at some time, and knowing that you need to collaborate with others, and those kind of mindsets are what's very important. Gain hands-on experience of innovation tools, including design thinking, enhancing cross-cultural communication and presentation skills. we do kind of train them a little bit of how to present ideas. I think that's such an important skill as a leader in general. How do you convey your ideas in a way that resonates with people, that leaves an impression, and communicates well. So that's one of the things we do. Also accelerate your growth through peer and expert mentorship. A lot of things happen through peer learning. Again, we do have a selection process for the students who join, so they are kind of highly motivated. They can kind of inspire each other and grow from each other's experience, and then also join a community of young change makers across East Asia. So those are the things that we help the students accomplish through our programs. And as I said, again, just going back to the beginning, again, we're very excited to see when students come and take the next step, like Herman, and taking this next step as an innovator. Another thing we also do is when people join our program, we want them to be part of a community as a journey. So when they join, they can come back to another program, for example, and be a participant, or they can come back to the same program and become like a student leader. We do have those positions too as a coordinator, and it's an opportunity for you to grow in that way as well. So we're really trying to build these journeys for our participants. And just quickly, I just have a few more slides, but I know today we have a nice mix of university faculty, also some people from the community, also students. So just kind of touching on how you may be able to be involved in social innovation in general, and education in general, but also with VIA, if you're a university faculty or staff member. So connect social innovation and service learning courses with VIA. So for example, if you're teaching a course here and you think there's an added experience that you can bring to the students by introducing your students to maybe one of these programs, that is one way that you can enrich your students' learning experience. Also, usually once a year we do a faculty exchange program, and we invite faculty members to come to Silicon Valley, see part of our program. We just did one last month in February. So a group of faculty, this time was from Japan, came. They saw our Exploring Social Innovation program, but they also visited, for example, the Stanford D School. They visited the Stanford Haas Center, and we met with their executive director. We also visited the Stanford Philanthropy Center on Philanthropy and Civil Society, so kind of a tailor-made program. So if you're interested in seeing what's out there, that's another way to be involved. And maybe you have a specific interest. Maybe, yes, social innovation's very nice, but maybe you want to do something science-specific or something. We do also design custom programs for schools and organizations. So I also have a mini flyer if you're interested in that, but kind of what kind of custom programs can we build together so that it could, again, bring a rich learning experience for your students. So those are a few ways, if you're a faculty or staff member, to be involved. If you're from the community, maybe from nonprofit, social enterprise, and corporations, then actually our programs, although most of them are college students, both undergrad, some graduate, these are also open to young professionals as well. So you can actually join. We usually have a few people who are young professionals joining our program, so that's a possibility. Also, we attract already talented students, but by going through our program, again, they come with new ideas, a new way of thinking. So we can collaborate and you can recruit innovative interns or new employees from our alumni pools. And they'll be excited too, because they can kind of apply some of the things that they learn in a real world context through your organizations. Another thing, these programs do require program fees, so if you want to sponsor a student and then you can provide scholarships for them to join, and maybe they come back and they can kind of report on what they learn and also maybe become your intern. So different ways. So these are just some ideas that we thought may be interesting for you to be involved with us. And if you're a student, again, a lot of ways. I think one that we always encourage you to do is find your passion. I think that's a very key. I think a lot of people are interested in helping in society, but what is really your passion that you want to do in the long term? So that's something that we can try and also help you explore and discover. And as I said, definitely you can visit and join one of our programs. And as I already said, there's opportunities to come back and maybe become a staff member, or maybe if you become a teacher, you can lead one of our programs and so on. These are some ways to stay connected. So that's all I have as my part of the presentation. If you again want the slides, or if you want to just contact me later, feel free to email me, and I'll be very happy to answer questions through emails, but also if there's time, maybe after Fiona's talk, then I can take some questions. But thank you very much.